We're live again on Syriana Analysis. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's 9:30 here, Central European times, and 3:30 in Eastern American time. I'm joined today by Anna Kachikyan, founder of the Armenian Report. Thank you very much, Anna, for joining me. It's a really pleasure to have you. You are the founder of a very famous Armenian platform. Guys, I put her Instagram, her personal Instagram, and also the Armenian Report Instagram links in the description below. Please follow her work because it's very important to listen to the perspective of an Armenian side to what's happening in not only in Armenia but also in Nagorno Karabakh, especially when we learn that Azerbaijan is paying millions and millions and millions of dollars to media outlets, to politicians, in order to pursue the foreign policy interests of Azerbaijan in different European countries now. Anna, thank you for joining me.
Kevork, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing. I found you, and I was so relieved because the way you eloquently, and it was a relief to see that there was a community member who has joined the forces, because there aren't enough putting out content and spreading the word about this. So
Actually, I try to keep my temper when I'm online because there's so much tensions nowadays, and lots of problems happening everywhere. My fatherland, Armenia, is under Azeri attack. Where I'm born, Syria, is now in a catastrophe. And guys, as you may know, there was a huge, devastating earthquake today hit Aleppo and the coastal line of Syria. It came from Turkey. And now, according to the estimates, around 900 Syrians already perished. They died in their sleep, unfortunately, and still there are people stuck under the rubble. And I would encourage you guys, please, I am posting a crowdfunding link in the description below. This is a link that is trusted, and I have a very good friend. She launched this crowdfunding. Every penny you pay, it will go to Syria, to humanitarian organizations, and I will make sure that it goes evenly to the affected areas, because the people in Syria really need your help in their ordeal, and I think they deserve some help, especially that lots of countries are imposing draconian sanctions on the Syrian people and not letting the humanitarian aid to reach to Syria. And now we have another situation in Artsakh where almost for 2 months, Azeri side is imposing a state-sponsored blockade on 120,000 Armenians. And they say those are eco-activists. They're blocking the way, the Lachin corridor from Armenia, the only route that connects Armenia to the independent region of Artsakh or Nagorno Karabakh. It's a situation that we have always to shed light, because it gets lost in this big news that we can see every day. The Chinese balloon comes, and then, I don't know, Ilhan Omar gets ousted, and now the Syrian earthquake. But this case is very important. There are 120,000 Armenians stuck in Nagorno-Karabakh, and the Azeri president, he's very honest about it. He says, you guys, you can live under my jurisdiction, which is you can be second-class citizens under my jurisdiction, or just go back to another land, or maybe to Armenia proper. So what is the humanitarian situation there now after 60 days of siege on the Armenians there, Anna?
Well, Kevork, I think it's very important to specify that this is not only a humanitarian crisis, the right for the Armenians to live on their land, on their homeland. So aside from the natural humanitarian Azerbaijan has caused, this blockade is preventing from the right for these people to live on their homeland. It seems like the current Armenian government has off of the people of the Armenians of Artsakh. However, it has cut the Armenians of the world, including any sort of connection to Armenia. Now, the Armenians of Artsakh on one side have Azerbaijan, which we know what they are prone to, right, in recent history. I mean, they literally started the 2020 war by hitting a hospital. Like
Yes.
the first bomb that they dropped was on the hospital, which is a war crime, right? So you cannot even assume that the Armenians of Artsakh who live on their can ever live like government rule, whatever you want to call it. They had a referendum December 10, 1991, 99.8% of the people voted. That's their land, that they're Armenia. They want to be an independent state. And so this is beyond the humanitarian crisis. I think the emphasis really needs to be on the blockade. And I've had many people from Armenia explain how important it is, because when you have a government who's off of 120,000 people, I, as a human being, aside from being an Armenian or a journalist or whatever, I just can't help but to really listen and understand, so that careful with how we use our words, because again, this is not Azeri land. This is the home of 120,000 Armenians, ethnic Armenians, whom this land belongs.
So what you're saying is actually it's not only a blockade on a people in order to deprive them from certain basic necessities, but it's an attempt to force these people to leave their territories.
Correct.
So where do
Yeah.
they go if they leave their land?
Frankly, Azerbaijan could give a shit.
Uh-huh.
For all we know, they actually would want 120,000 Armenians dead, if not all.
Hmm.
So if they can't kill them, then try to exile them, and so doing this blockade is a form of that exile.
Hmm.
And I mean, every interview, every person I've talked to from Artsakh, they seem to be more stronger than the rest of the world.
Yes.
And it's to hear from them, um, contrary to what the rest of the world might think. Like, they're not going anywhere. Like,
Hmm.
they have no thought of leaving their homes. Like,
You
if
know,
anything, they just had all the children go back.
yes, actually, you're very correct. My first-hand experience with the people from Artsakh, or we call them the Artsakhis, um, it's that they are more committed into the cause of Nagorno Karabakh or Artsakh and their land than some Armenians, let's say, who live in Armenia, those who didn't have a direct contact with the Azeris or the Azeri government, and they didn't witness the type of a behavior that is discriminatory against the Armenians there. Therefore, I see sometimes that there are some Armenians who say in Armenia proper, not in Nagorno-Karabakh, okay, let's make a peace with Azerbaijan and let the Artsakis live under Azeri rule. What's the problem? I think that's a very dangerous, like a proposal. It reminds me of a proposals coming from Arabic countries saying that, yeah, why not let the Palestinians live under Israeli rule? And it's like, in my mind,
Well,
it's laughable, and I'm always trying to relate what the Azeris are doing to the Israelis, and I see that Azeris are really learning a lot from the Azerbaijani side. If you can't uh, like kill them, force them to go. Like this is a discussion that you see every time. Oh, Arabs have 22 other countries. Let them go to some other country. It's like as if all Palestinians are Arabs or what. I
or
don't understand
Arabs.
that. But the Azeri side
Exactly.
always says now there is no blockade, and there are Red Cross convoys are coming and delivering humanitarian aid to the region,
Mm-hmm.
and the Armenians are being hysterical. This is what they say. They are. fear-mongering, and they're being hysterical, and they're always raising the issue of the Armenian genocide to justify what they do, according from the Azeri side. Now, are there Armenians really exaggerating what's happening in Nagorno Karabakh? Are their fears exaggerated? Will they be ethnically cleansed if Azerbaijan succeeds in this siege, and what comes after the siege?
Yeah. So this blockade has been going on for over a month now, right? What are we at? Day 51, 52, right?
Yeah.
So it's been over a month. And so if Armenians were exaggerating, is the entire international community speaking up against Azerbaijan. They're not doing anything about it. I
Yeah.
mean, minimal here and there, but they're all speaking out against it. So this is Armenian or Armenian speaking out. This is the entire international community speaking out and saying, stop what you're doing. This is not right. Now the Red Cross, if the Armenians are exaggerating, why is the Red Cross working around the clock excessively, like, and nonstop? You can't even get a hold of the Red Cross right now because they're so busy with so much that they have to do because of the disaster that Azerbaijan has caused. And frankly, they're not going to, the international community keeps, what's the word that they always use?
They are concerned.
Deeply concerned.
Deeply concerned.
And
And they're sending thoughts and prayers.
Their thoughts and prayers. They're urging Azerbaijan to stop, right? And so when the international community acknowledges it, right, then it's not Armenians exaggerating. The international community has recognized it, documented forever, will forever be in I won't say history, won't be in history books, but if this was in the first 10 days of the blockade, you can say, okay, it was the holidays, nobody gave a shit, blah, blah. This is beyond. They're like pushing it because, frankly, they can, because of the world power that they hold at the moment.
Yeah, but interests govern international politics. Don't you think that these countries all have interests with Azerbaijan, and at the same time the Armenians couldn't make good alliances with the neighborhood, with the regional countries, with international powers in order to preserve their position? I mean, shouldn't we a little bit blame ourselves as Armenians or an Armenian nation for not having good relations or solidifying our interests with the countries in the region, at least those who could be in support of the Armenian cause, at least?
Yeah. So I want this full disclaimer. I'm new to politics, right? Like, my background in journalism news has been local news and has been entertainment, pop culture news. But the process in which the news is verified, gathered, investigated, the process is the same. So me applying the of news gathering is the same, but understanding the political world has been really hard and challenging. And to be honest with you, it's not that much different from entertainment news. Like, it's a bunch of dumb characters, just like bickering.
Yep.
And so I like, president, prime minister, they're all a joke. Like, they're all characters for me it's a political theater show, okay? So at least, like, with entertainment news, these are people's lives, this is their personal lives you're reporting on. This pure political theater, and innocent people are dying and hurting and starving and 100%, again, full disclaimer, with the very little political background that I have, watching how our politicians are playing their cards. I mean, I don't know. For me, it's like when I look, it's very big. I wonder about this. I say Armenians are all over the diaspora. We go all over the world, become such good neighbors with others who are not Armenian. We're loved. We're very whole package.
Yes.
But somehow, when it comes to our politics, were dumb as hell. And I'm not only talking about the past 30 plus years. Everyone that I've studied, there's not a single politician that I'm looking through and I'm going, what happened? What happened? I'm like, okay, you are a smart man. What happened to you? Why did
You know, when
so
when the second Artsakh war started in 2020, I will be brutally honest with you. I know the history of Nagorno Karabakh Artsakh, but I haven't studied the area from a
Mhm,
geopolitical point of view. Like I always focused on the Middle East and Ukraine, for example, because in my estimation was the Middle East because there are so many conflicts there, and Ukraine. If World War III will happen, it will happen there, and I knew it from 2014 that if World War III would happen, it will be in Ukraine. But in Nagorno Karabakh or Artsakh, when you just check the map and you see the position of Armenia, which is
mhm,
sandwiched between two hostile countries. It doesn't
mhm,
have an access to any
mhm,
waters, don't have a port, you don't have gas, so your industrial sector is very weak. Therefore, just the illusion of that you can make a peace with two hostile countries based on concessions is an invitation for these countries to grab more and more your territories because for them this tyrannic project is real and Erdogan speaks about it since 2 decades now. So it seems to me that lots of Armenians in Armenia they haven't watched what Erdogan was doing in the past and they didn't see Aliyev is actually making good relations with the APAC in the United States, with the Washington, D.C. Politicians, planners, Congress, the
mhm.
administrations, Israel. Even with Russia, it's making so much efforts to gain Russia on its side, into extent that now Russia is even giving statements that is in favor of Azerbaijan, while Armenia is the historical ally of Azerbaijan. Oh, sorry, Armenia. But so I don't always blame, for example, the United States for not acting much, or Russia, who is inaction in Nagorno Karabakh, in my opinion, is also worsening the situation there. And I'm also seeing that what have we done in the past 2 decades or 3 decades? How is Israel able, as a small country which doesn't have gas, oil, and anything from this, to have all this strategic relationship with lots of countries around the world, with their smartness and with their plans to have good relations with them? At the end, to have a good relation with any country is not based on, hey bro, let's have good relations. No, you have to link your interests with the interests of these countries. So they did this, we didn't do that, and now we are in a position, I think. Sorry, I'm not an optimistic person when it comes to Artsakh, and I think this will lead into gradual ethnic cleansing of the Armenians there, if not now, in the next few decades. And this is a project that's not gonna stop until the Armenians are kicked out from there, not because the Azeris are determined to do so, but also because the Armenian side is not really doing much in terms of the military, in terms of the economy, in terms of solidifying the forefronts of this conflict
Mhm.
with Azerbaijan. I'm amazed when I was watching the footage from the 2020 Artsakh war, how the Azeris easily can target the Armenian tanks, Armenian soldiers, Armenian all this equipment like rabbits, because they are exposed, they don't have satellite imagery, they don't have air defenses to protect them. It's like an invitation, open invitation for Azerbaijan to invade. I mean, if I am Aliyev and I have his mindset and I have his project, I would do the same. It's for me. It's like I would serve the Azeri interests. I'm not gonna be nice to my neighbor because my neighbor isn't ready for a fight with me. But now, after the 2020 war, the Armenians invited the Russian peacekeeping forces in to enforce a truce between, or the ceasefire between the Azeri side and the Armenian side. But why the Russian peacekeeping forces aren't able to lift the blockade? Are they preoccupied with the Ukraine war, or they have so much interest with Azerbaijan that they don't want to help the Armenians in this regard?
Oh, loaded question.
Yeah,
Uh,
what is the
I'm gonna jump.
peacekeeping forces
I'm
doing?
gonna jump. I'm
Yeah.
gonna. So first of all, I think it's very, very important to know the Russian government, and then there's the Russian peacekeepers.
Hmm.
About what 2,000 young Russian men, right, in there as people in Artsakh.
Hmm.
I think that the 2,000 Russian men that are there, there's a human angle, and I've heard many stories that cannot be reported where they've helped Armenians there, because right they're in there, so there's a human angle to all of it. So they're also very not, I don't want to say very, but there are many stories of them there being very helpful. So to answer your question, their role, I think that they are very supportive of the people. They, they're seeing the struggle, the everyday human struggle. They're seeing how families are separated. They're seeing how their parents, because they're stranded on the other side of the blockade. They're joining families together when they're not supposed to. There's things that are happening here, there, that they're supportive. Now, as far as the governments go, I think Russia just is avoiding another conflict, a war. I think that geopolitics, right? And so I'm such a visual person. I have my notebook here. So we have Iran in the south, and we have Armenia on top, and then we have Turkey, Azerbaijan to the right. We have Georgia up top, and then we have Russia there at the top, right? This is my
Yes.
art.
Yes.
So why so again, political analysts explain, and then I take what I think is likely what is happening from all things that I hear, because of the little stories that I'm putting together every day. So Iran is here, and they just put a embassy in Sunik, so south of Armenia, okay?
Yes.
And so once the corridor through Armenia to Turkey, okay? Iran is like, fuck off to Azerbaijan. Sorry, can I curse? But
Yes, you
basically,
can.
that's what it's saying, okay? It's telling Azerbaijan to fuck off. Now, Russia and Iran are allies, they're buddies, they're friends. Armenia is like the next Georgia in the region, wants to be a part of the West, okay? Doing what the West is telling them to do, okay? So this is so complicated, like a very long-winded story, and I know you know all of it, but I'm like what is it called, geopolitics for dummies.
But, but it's very important for the people to know, because not everyone knows this historical background and geography.
So but I want to break it down in a very simple way, and I know like no one is breaking it down in a very simple way, and that's why a lot of people are like, I don't know what's happening, okay? So if allies, if Russia and Iran are allies, and Armenia in the middle is like, I'm joining Georgia at the west. I'm leaving Artsakh to the Russians. Let them do whatever they want to do. Russia needs to be right. It's like, so one of my best friends said this to me one time. It's like, how would the U.S. administration feel if Putin put its bases in near Mexico? Excuse me, out, get out, right? Like, it's a similar thing. It's like, this is my region, get out of my region. So
Yes.
Iran's like, buzz off. So then Turkey has elections coming up like May, June, right?
Yeah.
So they're just now. They're buying time because they're busy with the election and this. They don't want to piss off Iran. Russia doesn't want to piss off Iran. They're busy with their elections. The U.S. So Artsakh is just like, for Azerbaijan to basically cat and mouse to do whatever it wants right now. I think that because the Pashinyan government is like, I'm out. I think that Russia's to hang on to that region is going to be Artsakh.
Hmm.
So
So
I think it's going to take care of the Armenians of Artsakh. And
yeah, that makes sense.
so I think if the rest of the world is like, you know, sorry, but like fuck the Armenians of Artsakh, they're with Russia. You know, I was listening to an interview that Ruben Vartanyan, the state minister, like said in an interview. And if you're only if the only like basically preventing a mass genocide on your own people were the Russians,
Hmm.
wouldn't you support Russia
Hmm.
if they're the only ones defending you here?
Actually, that's a very important point because, in my opinion, there is an increasing number of neoliberal ideologues also in Armenia that they prefer to join the EU, they prefer to be on the NATO side, but Armenia geographically speaking is in the Southern Caucasus. It's it's in the backyard of Russia, so such attempts will be met with aggressive Russian response. And after Pashinyan came to power, but do you agree with me that Pashinyan is a pro-Western, at least, government, and they came as a color revolution to Armenia? We agree on that, yeah.
It's clear as day. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing to me that is like the guy literally comes out verbatim says it. Like he doesn't even hide it.
Hmm. So it's like shooting your own
I
leg,
mean, it's
basically.
obvious. It's like the second Nancy Pelosi left Armenia, he left Facebook and joined Twitter. I was like,
Mm.
oh, we're doing that too?
Hmm.
Like, I thought you were a Facebook kind of guy. Oh,
I
now
think
we're Twitter because Nancy Pelosi told you.
yeah, of course. I mean, this it's very, annoying for me to see that a person like me behind a laptop and just a podcast microphone can manage the national security interests of Armenia better than the government in Armenia, and when I criticize it, I'm now worried that I cannot go to Armenia again because they are putting lists of journalists' names and they're banning them from
Yeah.
coming to their own fatherland. And this is so crazy
Hmm.
on so many levels that the
I know.
government who calls itself like a democratic government, and they came here to increase the freedom of expression and all this stuff, and they're the ones doing things that the previous autocrat oligarchs didn't do with people who were
Hmm.
criticizing them.
Hmm. Yeah, it's another form of corruption, and you know, call it democracy all you want. There, it's clear as day. Even I did the story the other day that came out. You know, Transparency International even came out
Hmm.
and said how dropped off on the corruption list. Um, so it no, where were we? Back, I'm like
The,
trying to
the,
get my
the,
brain back
the,
on track.
the Pashinyan government, in my opinion, is I don't want to call them fifth column because I still want to go to Armenia again, but they are at least not pursuing the national interests of the Armenians. And everything that happened after 2018 is the responsibility of the Pashinyan government. They are the ones who wanted to direct the country into the West, and they're the ones, therefore, lost lots of alliances in the region, including Russia and Iran. And therefore, when the war started in Nagorno Karabakh in 2020, they didn't have any diplomatic efforts from their allies to stop the war in its early days, because that happened in
Mm.
2016 when Azerbaijan again tried to occupy Artsakh.
They were.
The Russians and the Americans stopped the war both, and now we lost that support from a strong country that has an influence over Azerbaijan and and Turkey at the same time. But on the other hand, we have the European countries. They are striking deals after deals with Azerbaijan, especially gas deals. How much the European support of Azerbaijan is contributing to the suffering of the Armenians in Nagorno Karabakh, in your opinion?
It's not. Contrary, Pashinyan and company just requested more European support, and they're going to send more. What are they calling? There was a word for it. What are they calling them? Oh my gosh, I just blanked. I'm sorry. Hold on. And then Russia said they're going to. I just blanked on them. What? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No,
Like
are they
the
set?
civilian watchers or something?
Monitors. They're sending
Monitors.
monitors. Yeah, they're
There's
sending monitors.
yeah.
So he
So
invited European monitors now to Armenia.
so yeah. So to ask that question, and say, oh, Europeans are caught. We're allowing it. Government is allowing it, and then when we ask for the Europeans for help, they're giving it to us. Now, do I think that they're monitors? No, I think, which is exactly why Russia's like we're sending our monitors too, because they're like, if the Europeans are going to come spy, we're sending
We're
our
gonna
spies
spy on
too.
them too. Yes.
Imagine how intent you have to be to welcome foreign agents to monitor your own land.
So we're not able
Because
to
you put
monitor our own land.
no, because I'm telling you, so I verified. I couldn't believe it. He got rid of military and he put security guards as border guards. They're not military trained guys at the border. They're security guards. Louis Vuitton at the mall, like better security than our border guards in Armenia.
Wow.
And at this point, we've ditched those two. Now we're bringing in and Russia's like, so now we're gonna have Europeans and Russia battle it out on our own land. It's a circus.
I think
And that's why
if it continues like this, the Russians are gonna engineer a coup d'état against Pashinyan. This is what
correct.
I think.
Correct. So that's why I'm saying earlier when I said when I'm watching this, it's political theater. Because like I said, I always thought like, oh, politics, it's so complicated. No, it's not. It's literal political theater. You want entertainment? You want a reality show? You want Real Housewives? Follow Pashinyan. It's a full-blown entertainment show until your mind realizes, holy shit, there are innocent people who are hurting because of his.
Yes, definitely. I think he's not only at this moment he's harming the people in Armenia or in Artsakh, he's harming on a long term the existence of the Armenians in that region, because we are exposed now on a security level, on a geopolitical level, militarily level to Azerbaijan, especially that we lost this buffer zone. Lots of regions in Artsakh, we lost it to Azerbaijan. That means you are exposed to the enemy, and this is similar to the case of Lebanon and Syria. When Syria sent its Syrian army to Lebanon during the civil war in Lebanon, that was mainly because Israel also invaded Lebanon, and they didn't want Israel to have an advanced access or advanced territory that can have they project their power on Syria. So they went also to Lebanon to keep the conflict in Lebanon, and this was also the strategy in Artsakh is to have a buffer zone between Armenia and Azerbaijan and to keep the conflict there. And then when you lose that region, that means that the conflict will come inside your territories. And that's what happened only a few months ago. Azerbaijan invaded Armenia proper. So these are some things that I spoke about them in 2020 and 2021, and I was ridiculed by the Pashinyan supporters. I respect all of them. I think they are all Armenians, but I do not understand how can someone who hasn't read 2 pages of geopolitics and read geography in the region can look, foresee and read these developments in a proper way. You cannot do that. We lost these regions, and now we have. This is, I think, the last question, which I was bothered also by Sergei Lavrov, who said that, I quote, Armenia occupied the 7 regions of Azerbaijan. He means after the collapse of the Soviet Union between 1991 and 1994, to legitimize the Soviet agenda to reinstate Russia's control in the Caucasus. So he basically called the Armenian liberation of their territories by occupation, and he doesn't recognize the legitimacy of the Armenians living there, and he doesn't recognize the legitimacy of the referendums, although Russia itself organized a referendum in the Crimea and now in the new annexed regions in Ukraine, and they accept it as because we have to accept the will of the people, and the people have the right to vote, right?
Do you remember earlier what you said about neighbors and being political? Pashinyan has really pissed off the Russian government with his statement, in his recent statements. And I think Lavrov coming out and saying this was a direct response to Armenia. Sorry, but like a fuck you back to Pashinyan, I think. And this, again, comes back to politics. So would he have said that openly like that if we were being political? No. Pashinyan is like, the STO declined to do the thing, the thing with the Russian. So he wants to get the Russian base out of Gyumri. He just literally wants to just be done with Russia. Okay. And so, and naturally, going back to you said earlier, if you're Russia, that's your region, right? So is it trying to reinstate its Soviet blah blah? I mean, if I'm Russia, yeah, you gotta keep your power in. But Armenia is like, buzz off, you know? So then I was thinking, well, you know, because like my journalist brain always thinks like the other side, like it just argues. Well, what about Georgia? You know, Georgia's in the region. Georgia went west, and I was literally asking myself this question, and I thought, there's I'm sure more to what I'm saying, but the basic fact that I forget the name of this. There's a beautiful part of Georgia. It's literally it's all the resorts. Turks have literally taken over Georgian land. And when I've watched multiple reports, when you interview them, they're like, "This isn't Georgian land. This is Turkey."
You mean by investments and buying lands there?
They've all. So then they interviewed the. So it's all hotels. It's all owned by Turks. It's all Turks who are vacationing there, and the Georgians are working for the Turks.
Yes.
And they're asking the Georgians, they're literally treating us like second-class citizens in our own country. So for me, it's like, well, let's look at what happened to Georgia, right? Georgia decided to go west and ditched Russia, right? So let's see, how is that working out for them? This is the future, a part of, yeah, if we do this, if we open our borders, but it's going to be so much because of our history together. So this isn't going to be like, oh, we're going to come by your land. This is going to be like rape, murder, you know, beheadings, and back to like medieval times of like, so and you would be a fool to assume like, oh my God, stop it, it's 2023, we can't do that anymore. No, sweetie,
It
let
just
me show
happened.
you
It just happened
video.
10 years ago
It
in
just
Syria
happened. No,
and in Nagorno Karabakh.
It just happened in September of
Yes.
2022 to women soldiers. It happened to civilians. It happened in 2020. It happened like you. I mean, you would literally. I'm sorry for offending people. Like brain dead. That it's not gonna happen. It won't. It's not gonna work.
I
because
think that this
the
is
rest
very important.
the rest of us who are cognizant of what could happen, because in genocide movies and documentation, we've heard our grandparents' stories, we're gonna leave. And then you're gonna stay and you're gonna get butchered, murdered, raped, and good luck.
You know, the best case scenario, what is going to be? The best case scenario for the Armenians, if they open the borders and sign this so-called peace treaty with Azerbaijan, they're going to submit to the Turks and the Azeris in economic way, because Armenia is not an industrial country. Turkey is.
Mm-hmm.
Azerbaijan is very rich in its gas sector. They will invade Armenia economically, and they will have their investments in Armenia, and gradually but surely they will have a very big influence over Armenia and the Armenian political scene. There will be politicians who will have financial interests with the Turkish and the Azeri side, because politicians always care about making money, and by doing so, Armenia will lose its sovereignty practically, although theoretically you will think
Mm-hmm.
that you are sovereign. Similar thing happened to Aleppo between 2005 and 2010, when we opened all the borders with Turkey and said, okay, we're gonna also abolish the tariffs, no taxes. We can have a free trade movement between the both sides. But who is gonna buy Syrian products in Turkey? That's the question. It's the Turks who came to Syria in Aleppo. They invested. They created influence with them, and the Syrians became workers in Turkish companies. And I think we need to
There you
learn
go.
from this experience and really believe that this is what's going to happen to Armenia.
So, really quick, I think this is important. This summer 22, there was conversation about opening the border with Turkey. So,
Yes.
I sent the Armenian reporter and crew to the border of Turkey, the border villages. They went to 2 or 3 villages, and we did, I want to say, 4-part series on their stories. And I encourage everyone to go watch it. It's on YouTube. It's on the Armenian Report YouTube page. It's a 4-part the border, and they all it was all villagers. It was all farmers, because that's what they do. It's farmland over there, and so all of them said how this is going to hurt them economically. Another thing that really interesting was how, as soon as the Velvet Revolution ended in 2018, they fixed the road from the village to like the
Mm-hmm.
city. And he's like, we've been begging every government to please come fix our roads, like
Mm.
our the horrendous situation, water system, and all this. He's like, the second Pashinyan came to power, he came and fixed our roads. And we were
Mm-hmm.
like, I just connected the dots. They have been preparing the red carpet for Turkey since 2018.
Yes.
Fix the roads for the villagers.
For trade.
I'm not dumb. They did not fix the roads for the Armenian villagers. They fixed the
Yes.
road to lay the for Turks after the war, which was, I'm sure, planned. After the war, red carpet, open borders, Estihametek.
Mm-hmm. I truly
Go
believe
watch
that is the
watch
case,
the
and
interviews.
I don't think I think were it not for Pashinyan, Azerbaijan would not have invaded in this large scale on Armenia. There was a clear indication that they're gonna win this war, and because of the Syrian war, I was also good in reading maps, so I was seeing how Azerbaijan is really encircling the Armenian villages and how they're adapting a very good strategy, militarily speaking. And I knew that they were gonna lose this war, and unfortunately, I believe also that Armenians deserve a better government, a government that can protect them. They should prioritize their national security over other cliche values, human rights, I don't know, all these cliches that they keep promoting for the Armenians that do not feed them and do not
Realistic
protect
things.
them. Yeah. This is the unfortunate truth. Unfortunately, guys, please raise awareness about the Armenians in Nagorno Karabakh, Artsakh. There are 120,000 people besieged by Azerbaijan, and there are state-sponsored so-called eco-activists cutting the roads and all the access of the Armenians in Artsakh to the outside world. Unfortunately, the Armenian government isn't doing much. So I think it's very important to raise awareness with your community and also talking to your politicians. They need to make more statements and more pressure on Azerbaijan to lift this inhumane siege on Artsakh and the Artsakhi people. Anna Kachikyan, thank you very much for joining me. You're the
Thank you.
founder of the Armenian Report. It was a pleasure talking to you. Guys, I put her Instagram and also again the Armenian Report Instagram in the description below. Go and follow her. And also, guys, there is this link which is very important for crowdfunding for the devastated people in Syria. I think the death toll will be over 1,000 people in Syria, but there are tens of thousands of people now without homes and without shelter. And you know me now for a long time. I can assure you this is trusted, and I can assure you that I will make sure that this money goes to the humanitarian organizations. And when I deliver this money to the humanitarian organizations, I will show you proof that I delivered this money there. Please participate in it. We put like a goal 10,000. We already collected 10,000 euros today. I think we can make 20,000 in the next 2 days. Let's make it 20,000 and send it to the people who are in need there. They will forever be thankful for you. And tomorrow, guys, at 9 p.m. Central European time, again, I'm going live with an expert to speak about the German foreign policy towards Ukraine and Russia. So stay tuned.